My name is Sam Iscavell. I grew up here in Fort Worth. I'm a podcaster. I've been doing it since like 2016. During COVID, everybody became a podcaster and a photographer. But I interview people. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've taught multiple amounts of young people. And so I've managed to grow in communication and storytelling. And that's what I do when you jump down here. Not only do I produce, and I have a few studios that I run, but I do storytelling and I do coaching. I help people figure out who they are, do one-on-one sessions, and I do it in groups. And so this is my first young group where I'm gonna zero in on storytelling. All of you here have a story. I don't know what it is. And the funny thing is, for sometimes me, when I was growing up, I didn't know my story, even though I was the one authoring it. And as you get older, and I know all of you are on a track at school, and I was getting a little insight to the program that you're a part of. You're driven, you're focused, you're learning, you're doing extra, you're doing a little bit above what everyone is doing, because you're trying to author your future so that it can look a lot brighter. So from my perspective, that's a little intimidating, but I'm happy to be here, and I hope that y'all walk away a little bit changed. In the age of AI, which you can't hardly have a conversation without that. So as soon as I say AI, I want to take that away, and I want to introduce HI, which is something that I believe in, and that is human imagination. That is where AI cannot touch us. That's where the human is still necessary. And so your imagination and the way that you share your story, you share the way that you are, where you came from, there's no algorithm that can figure that out. It can paint it very black and white, but all the smells, all the memories, the inspiring way that you share where you came from, that's HI. And so I believe in HI. So thank y'all so much for being here. As I go, I'm gonna interact with some of you. Who's available? Who's down? Okay, first one, everyone. I'm just gonna walk up and I'm gonna kind of press you on some questions. You don't have to be specific. You don't have to use names, but just share with me a little bit, and I'm gonna introduce you to 3 models when it comes to storytelling so that you can take those with you and you can practice it on yourself or with others. And all of these models, they lead to great conversations. Some of the best conversations I've had in life all have to do with me hearing someone else's story. And I want you to experience that. And so there was one time I was talking to someone, and her dad was very sick. And he grew up, and she remembers her dad being very strong, and he took care of the home and all the yard work. And maybe all of y'all can relate. Maybe you can picture your dad as being strong, being young when you were little and you were growing up. But her dad ended up getting sick. And so they were in and out of the hospital, and she remembers, and she was talking to me, and she said, I remember one time I saw him get up from a chair. And how many times do we get up from a chair like nothing? We sit down, we get up, we put our arms on the armrest, and boom, we're up, we're down. That it means nothing. It has no value because it happens so often. But she pointed out something that she noticed at that moment, and she goes, I remember my dad getting up, and I saw his arms shake because he was running out of strength. He could barely lift himself up. And that kind of left an imprint in her heart and in her mind. And that is a story that she got from when her dad was sick. Where that story leads or how it inspires someone, I don't know. It's different for every story, and what comes out of it is different for everyone. But in that session, what I did for this lady was I said, now you know what it feels like or looks like to be frail, to get up a bit tired, to be more compassionate, maybe to be more patient with someone who can't get up and down off a chair so easily. Now, I don't know if in her past life She was always running, always a go-getter. Everyone get up, let's go. Everyone sit down, let's go up and down, up and down. Chairs here, chair there. I don't know. A lot of us go through that. But I guarantee that if she saw the next older person who was tired and frail, and they were about to get up to a chair, because she experienced that story with her sick parent, I imagine her going up to an older person, hey, let me help you up. Like, when have you helped an old person sit down or get up? And that's someone's story. I know physically that we all go through that. We get older and we get sick, but that was a story that she shared with me. And I added a little context around it, and I pulled out the lesson in it. So next time she shares it, she goes, man, I have a place for older people who can't get up or down from a chair. And obviously we've all seen many inventions. There's many types of chairs. There's chairs that help you get up, help you get down. But what if sharing this story, right? All of you, some of you are gonna be engineers. Some of you are gonna be artists. Some of you are gonna imagine things to existence that don't even exist. But because you heard me share a story about an old person, a sick person getting up and their arms were shaking because they were so tired. That story literally might inspire you to invent the next chair that helps with that every elderly person uses at some point in the future or here pretty soon. And that's the power of storytelling. And that's what I do, and that's what I want to do with each of you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce y'all to a few, I had a clicker, and I forgot my clicker, so y'all forgive me if I keep turning my back on y'all. We're gonna focus on these story models here. That's what you have in front of you. And then we're gonna focus on 3 more of these that you have there. And so whenever you're sitting with someone and you're inspired to learn about their story, you have to think about the hula hoop and you have to listen. Because in the story, there's so many things that happen. And so you gotta capture one of those things and then give it right back to them. Say, you mentioned your mom made delicious tortillas. Where did she learn to make those? Oh, my grandma taught her, and her grandma. So it's been a family tradition for many years. That's what a hula hooper does. You're interested in the person that's sharing their story. And so all of you here are gonna get an opportunity. And you might have a question. And if you have a question, just pause, raise your hand if something jumps out when it comes to storytelling. And then I'll coach you through it depending on where your line of thinking is going. Okay, who's with me? Okay, everybody listening? And so we're gonna go ahead let's see which one I got first. So first we're gonna talk about a few myths. Examples of storytelling myths. The first one is it has to be perfect and it needs to be epic. All of our stories, when you share it, you haven't rehearsed it. It isn't a book, it isn't a movie, so it's not gonna be perfect. And sometimes because it isn't perfect, or we share someone who's a little older and they've shared their story more so they have it more concise, it intimidates someone on how they share their story. And understand that when I say story, it's you. How do you share you? I love talking about, the rich and famous and all the people. I know y'all, one of the things y'all focus on is literature. So those are people from 1,000 years ago, people who've been writing for a long time. And it's great to share their stories because we know them, because they don't change. If after you read them enough, you can share them with confidence. But at the end of the day, it isn't yours. It's great, but it isn't yours. How much better will you be in a conversation with any age? Maybe your future boss, maybe you're interviewing for the university that you're gonna go to, and you share your story. Think about that. Think about how more powerful that's gonna be, because they're gonna think you're about to say, and that's what Beethoven did, and that's what this artist did. And you go, no, that's what that was my journey. That's what I went through, and that's just a little piece of my story. And that's what I wanna give each and every one of y'all. the need to be epic. You don't have to finish with the big bang. Not everything is gonna be $1 million or $1 billion idea. Not every bike or not every Christmas that you had is gonna outdo the last. No, but the story still has value. And sometimes we hear people that do share epic stories. Or maybe your friend, like, fine, I grew up in a family of 3. They grew up with a family of 10. So my story cannot compete against theirs. Theirs is a little more epic than mine. But when you learn to examine your journey and your story, every one of us have something, forget epic, all of us have something amazing in your journey, even at your ages. Who's the oldest, what age am I talking to here?
Lots of seniors?
Seniors, so what was 16 to 18? Is that, so your life is barely starting. And when I was your age, people assumed that I did not have a story. But I already had a story. Until I got older, I was able to look back, and now I'm pulling stories from whenever I was young. But I want y'all to already start to use them now. I want you to show up as yourself. I talked to one of your directors a while ago, and I have this example of walking into several rooms, and every time you walk in a room, you walk in a little different. Because the room's loud, I'm gonna be a little loud. Because the room's a room full of artists, I'm gonna be more artsy. Engineers, I'm gonna be more mathematical, and so on. But I prefer that you walk in as yourself, because you know who you are. That's what I prefer. Because there's gonna be many rooms that you walk in and you're gonna say, who's walking? Who do I need to be in this room right now? And I want you to be yourself. It's self-indulgent, and the whole world needs to hear it. No need to lie. No need to dramatize it a bit more. If you grew up a certain way, that certain way is your story. You don't need to hear someone else's and then change yours just a little bit. So, he grew up in a violent neighborhood. Mine was more violent. But your story and your environment is catered to you, and it made you who you are, and so it has value. And on the other part, the whole world needs to hear it. In the age of social media, going viral, that one really, really speaks out. But I want you to know that the most impactful place that a story, sharing a story takes place is one-on-one. It's with your close friends. Have you ever sat down, maybe with your grandma or your dad, and figured out their story, their journey? Do you know them enough, or do you only know what they shared with you? You have to sit down and you gotta dig that stuff out. Not only will it make y'all a bit closer, but you just learn something about yourself. So my dad, when he first came to Fort Worth a long time ago, he had a job at the nuclear plant down in Granbury, and it was lined up. And I was talking to him, and he didn't take the job because they wanted him to cut his hair. And he goes, it took me so long to get the courage to grow my hair out because my dad never wanted it to grow out. He didn't take the job because he didn't want to cut his hair. That's, to me, that helped me understand who my dad was a little bit more. But it was a story that he had, and I had to ask to kind of learn, and he sacrificed so much just to keep his hair. And so it didn't even matter long term, right? And so the whole world needs to hear it. That's not true. If someone's in front of you, they have a story, and you're gonna have to choose. Are you gonna share your story, or do you wanna learn her story, right? Because you're gonna have to sit back and you're gonna have to listen. And so you must share everything. And it's only for big traumatic events. All the trauma, all the stuff, all of us have had bad times in our lives. We've had deaths, we've had scares, we've had all kinds of stuff. That doesn't necessarily have to be up front all the time. Just living life has context, and it's okay to share that stuff. I don't ever want someone to think, oh, I grew up and my family was good and my family wasn't, so the one that wasn't good, that's a better story to share. It might be more entertaining, but it doesn't have more value. I'll tell you that. And so I don't want y'all to be thinking like that. And you must share everything. Learn to share your story where you don't compromise yourself or anyone. Like I said earlier, you don't have to share names or specific places. Figure out how to share your story. That's the message here. It's your story. And so those are a few of the myths. And here are the benefits from storytelling that I'm hoping that y'all walk away with. And so the first one is confidence. The second one is communication and connections. Confidence is all of you, you're doing math, science, literature, and writing. Confidence comes because you know those well, right? What if the fifth one was yourself? What if the other subject was yourself? And you knew that one in and out. And not only did you know it in and out, but you were confident enough to talk to anyone about your journey and what you've learned so far. That's where confidence comes in. And I believe when you have confidence in you, that confidence comes out and other people can sense it. Who feels like they're really confident in here? Or who lacks confidence? Okay, when I was your age, my confidence was super low. Because I didn't know myself. The self that everyone saw, they beat down. They would say, nah, he ain't a good kid. He's not smart. He's not this. All of these things. They literally killing my confidence when I was your age. But I want to give y'all a bit of confidence, and it's going to be based on you, not on the things you do, not on the things that you know, not on the things that you say you're going to accomplish, not even most of the accomplishments you have now in academics. Hey, props to you. But what if it's simply about how you have dinner, how your family works, where you came from, how you talk, how you dress, how your parents look, how your parents talk, where they came from. That's where confidence comes from. So not only are you walking in as yourself into a room, but you're walking in with your whole family if you think about it, because that's part of your story. Communication, to me, that's pretty obvious, but it's communication from the sense of, I don't talk perfect. I struggled with reading and writing growing up, and I still do. So you'll see me mispronunciate or misread some things. It's something that I'm confident in. I'm confident in my deficiency, right? But I am, why? Because it's my story. And I'm constantly working on it. And that's why, and that's how I've ended up here talking about storytelling. And so communication is being able to communicate who you are and who your story is. That's hard. Not saying it perfect with the right vocabulary and all that and all epic, not that. If I talk the way I talk, then that's the way I'm going to share my story. And I want you to be able to do that. And that's hard to do. In the Latino community, the Spanish accent is very strong. I grew up hearing my mom struggle talking in English to the point that it would keep her silent whenever I wanted her to talk more. She wouldn't do it because she wasn't confident in how she sounded. And I don't want that for y'all, right? Your voice is your story. And so that's why I put one of the benefits of storytelling is communication. The last one is connections. And you're going to see that in a minute. But when you get to learn about someone and what they've been through, where they've been from, why they are how they are, you're going to have a connection with them. And that's beautiful. Making connections in life with people is the most beautiful thing that I've experienced. All of them have come from storytelling, every single time. And so we're going to cover, let's go here. Okay, we're going to let's do the spotlight one, okay? That's the third one down. You can, if you're a fast reader, read it. If not, I'm just going to start it and then I'm going to explain it. And as I do it, please stop me, ask any questions. The spotlight motto is a technique that you use to focus in on something. And through this, you learn about someone's story. And so I had all of you write your names down. I have not seen so many amazing names all at once. And so there was, so we're gonna spotlight this name, okay? Miracle, okay? That's her name. Can you tell me, I'm gonna give you, you don't have to hold it, I'm just gonna set it in front of you. Tell me a little bit about your name.
My mom got it from the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Between your mom and dad, who do you think picked it? You think it was your mom? Have you talked to her about it?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot? So when you see this is a word, this is beyond a name, this is a word. Some names are just names, so this is a word. So it's hard to separate the word from the person. But how has the word miracle been your name? Like how has it been being called miracle?
Oh, like
You can think about it. I'm gonna prompt you, and this is when you're helping someone share their story, you kind of catch them off guard. I'm sensing, and you stop me, or red light, green light, she hasn't gone too deep on her name. She's kind of just been living life. But that's such a powerful name. Who knows what miracle means? Anyone? Just throw it out there, a general definition or the proper definition?
Just, like the name itself, or just
The word.
The word.
The word.
Supernatural occurrence.
Yeah. Supernatural occurrence, right? That is the word. That is the definition of the word. Now, the key for her is having to define that word to be her name. So I'm going to ask you, what are 5 of your favorite things? Maybe a food, a place, a movie. It can be between up to 5. It can be 2 or 3, whatever. What are some of your favorite things?
I like potatoes.
She likes potatoes. That's interesting. Why potatoes?
I think it's very like diverse.
Yeah,
Like you can do a lot with it.
you sure can. What's the best thing you like turning potatoes into?
Mashed.
Mashed potatoes. Who likes mashed potatoes in here, right? Where do you put it? Y'all may think I'm weird, but do you put like ketchup on it? Do you put barbecue? Did you say?
Yes.
Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I'm joking. Who puts something on their mashed potatoes? Gravy. That's it. Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it very traditional. Well, I put like barbecue sauce on it, or ketchup, right? It works on fries, right? So she likes potatoes. Who else likes potatoes in here? Yeah? Yeah. How have you become, like, is it because your mom makes it a certain way? Or is it you just eating food and then that's how you've become, a fan of potatoes?
Yeah.
Yeah? Does your mom make potatoes a certain way that you like?
She makes like soup.
Soup? Potato soup? Okay, that's great. So now what I'm doing is I'm separating the word miracle to the person miracle. I'm spotlighting a few things about her. So right now she gave me potatoes. So now I'm building a connection with her in the sense that if I wanted to go eat or treat her with something, I'm gonna say, you know what, these potatoes taste real good. I'm gonna bring her some. You wouldn't have done that if you wouldn't have spent time, and now, again, this is the spotlight model, if you wouldn't have asked her about her name and where it kind of led to, right? Would you say, anyone here, that potatoes are somewhat of a miracle?
For sure.
Right? Yeah, you said no.
I said like not immediately.
Not immediately.
Like a second to think about it.
Exactly. But I just want to make a connection here so that I can have a deeper connection with her. For me, potatoes are a miracle. How they can grow all around the world. Anyone can eat them. People and cultures make them in so many different ways. There's nothing French about them, right? But French fries are like potatoes, right? Who knows? But what I'm saying is now we can dive more into potatoes if I wanted to. But what else is something that you like?
I like reading.
You like reading. Tell me something you've read recently that's inspired you.
I read this story in my class. It was called the Yellow Wallpaper.
The yellow wallpaper. Tell me a short, quick synopsis about it.
It was like placed back in the day where if a woman had like symptoms, they would just put her to bed,
Yeah.
rest, and that led for her to like go crazy.
When you read, do you read fast? Like, do you read slow? Like in your mind, when you're reading, what's going, like how do you read? Tell me what makes you a great reader. Like how you're able to read that book and that input make an impact on you.
I think I just like picture it in my mind and yeah, I process it.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself a good reader? How about your parents? Are your parents good readers?
I think my dad is.
Your dad is? Very good. When it comes to reading and you think about people who can't read well, how much are they missing out in life? Not only in just learning, but like they call it, they say you can travel the world, right, if you can read. They can learn a million things if you can read. Have you ever thought about people who couldn't read? If you could do one thing to help people read, what would that be? Like what helped you the most?
I think being read to.
Yeah. Who would read to you?
My mom.
Yeah? Do you remember her? What was she reading to you?
The Bible.
Yeah? Since you were little? Did she read like stories? Tell me an instance whenever she read to you. What comes to mind? Like right now, like boom. Is it night? Is it Christmas? Tell me an instance when she read to you and you said, my mom's reading to me and I love this.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? So we'll stop there. I could dig in, and I'm having to press her a little bit, right? Like no critique on your age, but when you begin to share your story, it's a little intimidating because it causes you to think or go back into time when you weren't really telling yourself, remember this is going to be important. This is my journey. But what I learned is when it came to her name, right? Miracle, and then potatoes and reading. Those are three things that I learned about her that I didn't know until today. And those three things connect to her story one way or the other. Those have value to her. That if I were to write those three things down, they belong to her. And I think that's beautiful. Not only did her mom read the Bible to her growing up, and I know her memory's a bit foggy about it, but she knows what her mom was reading to her. She knows where her name came from. So I can go into a conversation with her about her mom and her spirituality and her faith and all of that, now that I know that. Without getting permission from her, she has introduced that into the conversation, and I simply did that by using the spotlight theory. And you can do that with anyone, with anything. So I'm gonna ask another question, and we're gonna still stay on the spotlight. Who remembers their first bike? Okay. Tell me about your first bike.
All right, let's see. Small, blue, had training wheels, black seat, and I think it was Thomas themed, but I can't be too sure. It was a very long time ago.
How did you feel when you got that bike?
Honestly, I don't know if it was a mix of fear or excitement, but probably a mix of both, knowing my
Do you still have it?
No.
It's gone, right?
It's vanished to the wind.
Yeah. How long did it take to learn to ride it? Like, did you learn on your own, or was your mom or dad pushing you? How did you learn to ride the bike? All of us here have learned to ride our bikes at some point. How did you learn to ride your bike?
Repetition.
Yeah.
I mainly biked close to. Okay, so I biked in my neighborhood, right? Did that for the longest time. I kept falling and falling, even with the training wheels off, and it got to a point where I just gave it up. I gave up.
Do you know how to ride a bike now?
No, not yet. Still, and it's still something I still feel not insecure about, but
Yeah,
something I still feel like, man, most kids my age know how to do this now.
Would you like to learn? Would it be something, or are you past it?
Kind of past. Not kind of. I am past it.
So is it fear, or you're just bored with it?
less so fear, more so just frustration.
You're just
Having
frustrated.
to balance myself is already a task in itself with just normal walking. Having to balance myself on the bike is kind of just, now you're just asking for too
Yeah.
much.
So if I said, hey, I'm going to teach you to ride a bike, would you let me teach you?
I would let you do
Yeah. So on that spotlight, it's funny, it's several things here that I could spotlight and zoom in on. And you're obviously talented in something, right? Because you're a part of this group. Many of those things are challenging that you're talented at. But he didn't let his mentality of riding a bike make a roadblock like it did when it was a bike. So you've confronted math or literature or test with a lot better version of you than the version that had the bike and you said, I'm frustrated with it and I'm done, correct? So if I wanted to use this spotlight to get to know him better, I would ask him about a subject in school that he felt the same way about the bike with. What's something that's really frustrating academic-wise that you're having to confront? And you know you can't quit, but you got to fight through it because it's not that easy.
Dang, I haven't really experienced that this year.
In previous years. You don't have to be-
previous years, Spanish.
Spanish.
Easily. Learning Spanish was pain.
Yeah.
Pain incarnate.
And how are you doing now in your Spanish?
Okay, freshman year, I started as absolute dog water. It
Uh-huh.
was my first time learning a language,
Yeah.
so already a big learning curve there. My grades were not the best. I lost many hours of sleep to just studying for that godforsaken subject.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, things got better. Picked up some 80s. Life is good. I'm not struggling as much. And then Spanish 3 last year, all A's. That entire course.
So
Very good about that.
there you go. And that's with riding. Okay, so now in the spotlight model, as I'm kind of digging in, figuring out his story, if I, as a friend, making a connection and building his confidence, if I wanted to encourage him to ride a bike, I would use the Spanish thing, the Spanish class to get him there. I would mentally say, dude, well, you failed at Spanish and then you ended up getting all A's in Spanish. Which of those are you paying more attention to? Which is more rewarding? And he would say, getting the A's. But I know how I got there. So this is a bit of a stretch, but to teach you to ride a bike, I could use that story that he shared with me to get him there. And then later, let's say we spent a few weeks on riding a bike, he would sit in here and he would share the story on how he rode a bike. But the connection, the spotlight for that would be what I prompted. And he'd be like, man, I remember getting encouraged because of my Spanish, because I was bad at Spanish. And then this guy talked to me in this workshop about storytelling, and I knew I had the mentality to get A's in Spanish, so I'm using the same mentality to learn to ride my bike. That is the power of storytelling. Now imagine doing that with your friend who says, I don't know if I should, go to that college. I don't know if I should chase that career. But as your friend, you know how much they've overcome. So mentally, they've already accomplished difficult things. They just forgot because they're not paying attention to their story. So I gave him back his own story. He's encouraging himself. I'm introducing him to himself. That mentally, he can do it. He just needs to show up physically. And then he will learn to ride a bike. All of us have that in us. But at the same time, you can give that to any of your friends who are struggling with something. You can say, what have you accomplished in the past year? Spotlight that for you, spotlight that for your friends, and your life will change. And so I believe you could ride a bike if we spend a little more time together, because as far as you doing it, you've already proven that you can with Spanish. There's just a little sample of the spotlight model. You have to hear key things. Anyone? There was another spotlight that when he was talking, he used a word. He used dog water. Does anyone in here know what dog water means? I don't know what it means, but I'm about to ask him where he got that vocabulary from. He may not know, but there's certain words that people use that if you hear it and you don't recognize it, it's worth making a mental note. So I use dog towel when I need a towel to kind of dirty and use, hey, you got a dog towel, and I can go dry my car with it or pick up a spill. And someone taught me that word. I didn't know what it was, but that word connects to a culture, connects to a certain way that people grew up. And so you may not have a lot of info on it, but tell me why or where did that word come from? You got it on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And what it means, know that it meant sucked badly.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Like way below the skill,
Yeah.
the normal skill level.
Yeah. So he got it from YouTube. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't as deep as I thought, but some are. But you won't know unless you spotlight something and you tell someone, your name is interesting. I know what it means as a word. I know what it means in with people who go to church. I know what it means. But what does it mean when it's connected to you, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when I got the potatoes. And then here I am. And then that word came up. Dog water, and I was going to get a little more out of it, but it's okay. But that's what a spotlight looks like. Try it with your parent. Try it with a sibling or an uncle as someone is talking and they're sharing random things and you're getting bored. You say, well, you mentioned this. You know, when you were 17, you said you went to go hike this mountain. Tell me a little bit more about that. Now you're kind of directing the conversation a little bit better. It's not so random, but because you frame it in storytelling, it isn't like, oh, he's bossy. He doesn't want to hear what I'm saying, because you're interested in something. And when something jumps out, spotlight on it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the spotlight model. Okay, so this is the mosaic model. Someone read the mosaic model out loud. Anyone?
The mosaic story model is a one-on-one facilitation technique designed to help an individual deconstruct a single significant memory or experience into its constituent parts or tiles?
Constituent.
Thank you. Jesus. Its primary purpose is to move beyond the linear narrative, what happened, to uncover and articulate the subjective, emotional, and sensory forces, how it felt, that give the memory its true meaning. It empowers the storyteller to identify the specific elements that shape their personal truth about the event.
So the mosaic model is an interesting way to talk to someone who you've never known anything about, and they begin to share things with you. So out of the whole group, who wants to share a story about them when they grew up? It could be a Christmas, a Thanksgiving, when you saved up to buy a PlayStation or something. What's a story that someone can share that's funny or interesting? Anybody?
Could it be about sports?
Hmm?
Could it be about like how you got into sports?
Yeah, she's gonna talk to us about how you're in sports. Okay, what sport are we talking about?
Softball.
How long you been playing softball?
Since I was 3.5.
3.5. Okay, tell me what you remember about playing when you were 3.5.
I didn't really want to play, but I started out in t-ball, baseball when I was 3, and then I got into softball at 7 because I wanted to keep playing.
Mm-hmm. Who got you into it? Was it your mom? Was it your dad?
It was both.
Yeah.
My mom was in softball when she was little, and my dad was in baseball.
Oh, your dad played baseball and your mom played softball. Mm-hmm. Did they meet through that sport?
No.
No? Who was better at the sport out of both of them?
Probably my mom.
Yeah? What position did she play?
I don't know. She didn't tell me.
She didn't tell you? Where did she play at? Do you remember like what city, country, or?
She played here. I just can't remember what high school.
Oh, she played for high school. So she was pretty good. Like she played on an official team and everything.
She tried out. She said she didn't make it.
Yeah. How do you consider? What's your level? What's your position and level in softball?
I'm shortstop and third baseman, and I'd say my level is pretty high.
Yeah.
Who said yeah? Oh, I thought I was like, someone seeing her play. What's the name of your team?
Bullets.
How long have you been with them?
I just got with them last season, I
Yeah.
believe. It switches teams.
Yeah. Do you have any goals when it comes to softball?
If I make a mistake, learn from it and get better from it.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you have learned from being not only in softball, but being on a team and being on a team of being coached? And then like, there's always players who are better than you and not as good as you. How has that taught you or made you better?
Players that were better than me helped me with my throwing or catching and how to throw the ball hard and fast. And then players below me, I helped them get better at batting or catching whenever they would let the ball go. When
you hear the word teamwork, because you play softball and you have some experience, how would you define it, or how would you share some wisdom with someone who doesn't do sports when it comes to teamwork? Because we all have our ideas of teamwork in here, right? But sometimes they're based on academic, they're based on church, or within your family. But what have you learned? Because it's hard to get along with people who are better, and then you can't babysit everyone that's not as good as you. What has it taught you?
Teamwork has taught me to always trust them and to always help them, and that they're always there for one another.
So in the mosaic model, when you're talking with someone, with her, I just focused in on softball. And so sometimes it's hard to figure out where the value in it is for her, like for her story. So I know that when you play softball, you got to be on schedule, right? You got to listen to someone and show up on time. Not only that, but you got to take criticism from someone. If you're not good at something, your coach is going to tell you, or your teammates are going to expect something from you. So you got to be willing to listen to people that maybe you don't want to listen to. So I can kind of measure that her character is a little more mature than someone who doesn't play sports or softball. I know that. So I know I can dig in deep on team, on leadership, on development. I know I can dig in on that because she plays softball. So I wrote sport. So I can, in this mosaic model, to learn from you, I could just talk about sports. What's your favorite sport to watch on TV? Throw it out there.
Baseball.
Baseball. Because she knows it. So now I can share in that conversation with her a little bit more and what she enjoys about baseball. But I also wrote 3.5 years. I thought this was funny. That's when you started playing, right? Who remembers what they were doing at 3.5 years? Huh?
Moping around and singing stupid stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. 3.5 years. Her memory is pretty good. I could dig in on this and tell me about your first year of playing softball. What do you remember? Because 3.5 for me, that's pretty little. Like, guys, she was like this little playing softball. What do you remember about that? The snacks?
Yeah, the snacks. It being so loud, and whenever I went up to bat, I would always hear the audience like yell, try to cheer us up, support us.
Yeah. And then I asked her about her mom and dad. Her dad played baseball, her mom played softball, right? So I like this. Whenever I'm learning about story, I like learning about people's parents. So how has your mom playing softball taught you? What has she shared with you based on what she's learned?
She helps me get better with knowing what to do in like situations, like when there's a runner at first and then a third and then the ball gets hit to you. You have to think before the batter hits.
Yeah.
You have to think of every possible situation.
And your mom kind of gave you that? Do you feel like softball has made a stronger connection between you and your mom?
Yes.
Yeah. When she cheers you on, right? You heard you heard the people cheering when you were 3.5, but it didn't really mean anything. They were just kind of the parents, right? You could be good or not. They were going to cheer. But your mom is different because she played. Because she played, her expectation is higher. How has she, when she cheers you on, what does that feel like? Can you recall a time when she cheered you on? When she said, man, that was a good play. I can see you're growing, or something. Tell me an instance.
She cheered me on for when I got my first triple out, her and my dad when I first got my triple out when I was 9, and they were very proud of me, and we went out to eat because of that.
What's a triple out? Who knows? Wait. Who knows what a triple out is?
I think I know.
Okay. No, anyone else?
It's very rare.
In layman's terms.
Okay. So I was second baseman at the time, and it was a pop fly. I caught it, and then the runner from first was behind me, so I immediately tagged her out. And then the runner that was on second was halfway to second base. I ran to second base, and I tagged her out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah,
That's
it's very
impressive.
rare to see, so my parents were so happy.
That's great. And y'all went out to eat. What did you eat that day? Do you remember?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A? It was just, guys, how often do we eat Chick-fil-A, but when it's attached to something, it means a little bit more. So you probably eaten at Chick-fil-A 1,000 times, but she just pointed out one time when she ate at Chick-fil-A because she got a triple play. To me, that has value. You know what I mean? And it just changes how I see her. Do you remember the conversations when y'all ate that day?
They were just very proud of me.
Yeah.
My dad was so hard on himself because he didn't record it.
So
I'm sorry.
the same way I talked about his mentality for Spanish and then being able to ride a bike, for her, there's a day in the future where she's going to be discouraged, right? Where she's not going to get that triple play, but in another area. Maybe she won't get an A on a test. Maybe she'll get a C. I don't know. She won't get a triple play, but she'll remember that conversations of her parents being proud of her at Chick-fil-A that day. You understand? You understand what that does for someone as you're living life and you get tested by things and things knock you down? You have to know that people are in your corner, right? And some of us think about yourself or maybe friends, we can't think of a time when our parents were proud of us. I struggle remembering when my mom was proud of me. I'm not trying to be ugly or anything, but when she literally said, "Sam, I am proud of you." I have a hard time finding that story. But she found it right now, and it had to do with softball. It started at 3.5. She ended up there. That Chick-fil-A moment is valuable. I don't know when or how she's gonna use it. She could be sitting with you one day and you need encouragement. And you're gonna say, "Man, my parents, they just keep hounding me." And she's gonna say, "Well, wait a minute. One time I ate with my parents and my dad was so proud of me. He was mad because he didn't record it, but they were proud of me." I said, "Your parents are gonna be proud of you." Like, I don't, do you see what I'm saying? It seems like nothing, but because we shared it today and it's the mosaic model, not to make it elementary, but under that model, I was able to capture that. All of us heard it. So now you are gonna be talking with someone and you might use her story to encourage someone. But now she has it as a reference in her head. When she's talking with someone, she's gonna remember the triple play and my parents were proud of me. She can use that story in the right context and it's gonna fit and it's gonna encourage someone. And that is the power of storytelling. But until you start breaking it down and examining and asking questions around softball, where I dug into that, you won't have that in your filing cabinet. It's just gonna be, imagine a pile of papers, and that's your story. But as soon as you start pulling it out, whether it be Spotlight or whether it be a mosaic model, now they start getting filed away. And you're talking to a friend that needs encouragement or my parents are gonna be proud of me, pull that story out. If you need to encourage someone to take a chance on something that they probably are gonna fail, on riding his bike, then you can pull the story of him 3 years in Spanish, the second year, and the third year he aced it. Now he filed that away, and that's your story. And now he can use it, not only to share, but now he can use it to be confident with himself in the mirror, right? He don't have to quote no one else. You don't have to quote no one else. You just quote yourself. I hit a triple play. My parents were proud of me. Think about how beautiful that is around the mosaic model. And the way I did it here, I just was writing things down that stood out while she was sharing it. when you're talking with someone, it's just gonna be in your head. It just becomes conversational. And you're like, boom, I like that. Oh, I like that. She said that she said softball for a reason, right? And so I said, let's zoom in on it. And so you have to be a story hooper. You have to listen and then counter it and respond, okay? So that's the mosaic model. Questions, comments? What did you learn? How about that? Let me be a hooper. From her story, what stood out?
Softball is very important to her.
It is. Now we know that. We did not know that until she shared her story. Anything else? And that has value. Understand, it was just three words, but it has value when you're trying to make connections with someone. Yes?
One thing that I can say is that by parting out, certain pieces, you can relate previous accomplishments to current struggles that people need to overcome.
Yep.
That's with this mosaic model and with the spotlight model that you did as well.
Every story should lead to something positive. We have this idea in our head that, this story was tragic and now it's going to lead to something. Not if you own it. Not if you share it and then you say, here's what I learned from it. So you can flip anything that's kind of bugging you out or bringing you down or you're ashamed of. You're only ashamed of it because you haven't shared it or shared the wisdom that you've gained from it. Think about that. When I opened, I said, I struggle with reading and writing. It was embarrassing to be around people like Miracle who could read real well. She said, I love reading. I've never been able to say that. I don't know if I ever will. Because I don't think I'll ever be able to experience reading the way a good reader does. But I'll tell you this, a good reader still inspires me. Right? I would know, look, we're both reading the book. Can you tell me how you read the book? Talk to me about it. Now I know that because she loves to read. But it doesn't hold me down. And people are ashamed because they can't read or write, or because the way they sound, or because the way that they talk. But what if your accent, what if the way you talk is related to your culture, right? What if it's related to joy? What if the way you say things makes people smile? That is your story. Mm-hmm. Improve, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with your story. And I hate that in this world, people try to make these stories as if they are bad. No story is bad. Pull out what you learned from it. You could break your leg, and I guarantee there's wisdom in that, right? You won't break it again. Absolutely. It'll be for another reason.
Very good lesson.
So that's the mosaic model. And it's called the art of a fact. So an artifact in a museum or a science museum is like bones, it's like pottery, it's, old stuff that means something. And I put it on there like a word, it's like a play on the word, art of a fact. And the way that I dig into people's stories is like this. If I'm with someone and I'm sitting with them and I see something, an old watch, something on the wall, and I'm struggling to have a conversation or a connection with them, I'll say, hey, I noticed that plaque there. It says something about your family or the photo. What is it? And then they'll say, well, that's where my dad worked. He worked there in 1950. And because of that, we did this. And it leads to storytelling. So all of us have an art of a fact. It could be your glasses, it could be your watch, it could be your shoes. It's just the art of something, right? It could be the art of what you're best at. If I asked you, what could you talk to me about for an hour? That would be the art of the fact, because you would say, I'm so good at knitting. I said, great. I'm going to zoom in on that. Tell me why you love knitting. Tell me how long you've been knitting. And usually that leads to getting to know someone. So figure out what an artifact is for your mom, or your grandparents, and just dig in on that. Don't make it about yourself and just say, tell me more about that, Mom. How did we end up having that chest, in the dining room? Oh, my grandma gave it to me, and so on. And that is the art of a fact. And so I want you to go out there and try to learn not only about yourself, but your family and friends, And I've gotten some great stories from people's artifacts / the art of a fact. And so go out with family or something and find something and just zoom in on it, okay? We got a few more minutes, and literally it's only a few more minutes. Questions or just feedback?
You know, as someone who came here originally okay, I'm trying to be an author, right?
Very good.
So I kind of need to know how to tell stories about this. I did not know about like any of this when I first came here, and I'm very happy that I'm walking out with more information than what I started with. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you for saying that.
Also, you have a very pleasing voice.
Thank you for saying that. Anyone else?
Have you ever come across I won't say stubborn because everyone has reasons for why they don't open up, right?
You just tell me when we need
someone
it.
that you're interviewing with has been tough to break out, to
Yes.
pull from, right? We recruit students for our program, and all these kids have been interviewed either by me or by someone at the age of 11. And so like asking them what their favorite class is, and sometimes can be very hard. You get one word answer. So what do you do to like pull?
So for me, I'm always studying questions. I'm always studying prompts. So I'll draw out a question to dig something out. So if it was someone who's struggling with answering, I said, what's your favorite food? And they just said, hamburgers. And then they were just period, right? I would say, man, you know, I really enjoy beans, but the way my grandma made it on her stove, and I tell them a little story, and then they're like, man, were they good? I said, yeah. Why do you like burgers, right? So I gave them a little framework, and then I tossed it back to them. And usually that's how I start breaking them. But the art of the fact, focusing in on why and how and cross-connecting it, that helps. But yes, it's hard to break people. But once we get into softball, you start rolling. Yeah. Once we get into potatoes, she kind of lightened up. Everyone laughed. The room changed, but I had to find that. And so it may not be favorite food, but it might be Pokemon cards, or I don't know what it might be. Yeah. So you might also have to redirect, but you kind of have to just, the more you do it, the more you get it, but sometimes that's the case. So the art of the fact really comes into play at that point.
That'll probably be the last question.
One more question. Well, hold on, before you ask, is there anyone else? Everyone's nice and quiet? No? Go ahead.
Have you been up to ever since that, podcast had, failed, quote unquote? I'm sorry. What have you been up to now? Have you tried podcasting again?
No, it's called the Failed Podcast because I interview people based on their failures and challenges.
Oh my God, I'm slow.
Yeah, and so I take people's journey through their failures. Those are just bookmarks. And then they teach me how they grew, learned, and got better. So I named it the Failed Podcast.
Clever.
Yeah, so.
We're gonna forget about that again, okay?
Well, guys, thank y'all so much. We've run out of time. I know it goes by quick. Hopefully we may visit again. But if not, thank y'all for your ears, and then the people who shared, thank you for being vulnerable and open. And I hope that y'all learned something. Thank y'all.
All right, guys, let's put